Are my volumes okay, Bobby?
Your volumes are good, Toby. Let's go. Are my volumes okay, Toby?
Well, my Eastern European now.
I started out as you, and then it just changed to something else.
This episode, this episode is brought to you by all of.
Why'd you make that face?
Because you talked over me, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Right. This episode is brought to you by all of our patrons. To become a patron, head over to patreon.com/makeusbetter. This week's executive producers are Nick from Next Level Games, Joel Brooks, and James Johnson.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Nintendo PlayStation Podcast. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by my best friend in all the land, Toby. What's up, Toby?
Episode 5. We're big boys now, Bobby.
Oh, we're getting there. We're almost to 10. Almost 10. Oh, my God. How you been, man?
I've been alright. Busy week.
I don't like asking you how you been, because all of a sudden you go real, I'm okay.
That's just late.
I'm alright. It's like, dude, why are you never like, I'm good, man, I'm great, how you?
Because I'm English, Bobby. That's
the problem. You guys are real emo, man. Real emo. Yeah. I don't. It's ridiculous. I don't know. Be like, what's his name? What's the dude from One Direction?
I don't know. I don't listen to One Direction.
I'm sure you've listened to them. They're an English band. How could you not listen to One Direction?
Because they're rubbish.
They're like the Beatles, man.
Oh my! What are you saying? Like the Beatles, One Direction are like the Beatles.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm not from England, obviously. But, like, is Paul McCartney and the Beatles, like, really huge over there? Like, do you guys, like, are they, like, national treasures, kind of?
Yeah, they are, yeah, like,
even,
they are.
Even Ringo?
People don't care so much about Ringo. But, yeah, like, they are still beloved, you know, people do love them and listen to them still.
So how do you guys feel about Michael Jackson?
Well, personally, I love Michael Jackson.
I thought he'd be like public enemy number one.
No, like the thing is, I think you've got to separate.
No, not because of that. Because of him screwing over Paul McCartney. That's what I mean.
They did some good duets.
You never heard the story about him? Michael Jackson owns the Beatles catalog.
Oh right, yeah.
And so when they were doing Say Say Say, when they were recording the video for it, Paul McCartney was talking to Michael Jackson about how, you know, the real money in music is owning the rights to music. And that he was saying to him, like, that's the biggest mistake that I feel in my life, is that I was never able to acquire. We signed the rights to the Beatles music over to the record studio to get our contracts. And he said, that's my biggest regret in life, was not having these contracts and not having the rights to my music. He's like, I wrote all these songs and I don't own the rights to them. So he's like, they're going up for auction, like in a couple weeks or whatever, in a month or so. And I'm going to go and I'm going to try to get them back. And he goes in, Paul McCartney that day goes in to go buy the rights, and there's Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson starts bidding against him. And Michael Jackson wins the rights to all the Beatles music. And Paul McCartney was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I thought we were friends. Like, why would you do this to me? And Michael Jackson was like, it's kind of cool, isn't it? And he's like, no, it's not cool. Like, what are you doing? And they haven't talked. Well, obviously they haven't talked since. But at that point, like when I heard the story, Michael Jackson was still alive when they hadn't talked at that point, and he was like kind of bitter.
They had major beef.
Yeah, but the main thing I think Paul McCartney wanted the rights to it is because he didn't like, and he especially didn't like it when Michael Jackson kind of became, I don't want to say poor, but when he was starting to go into debt because of how much money he was spending.
Because he's a maniac.
Oh, he was spending like a lunatic.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney was getting pissed because Michael Jackson was just kind of like licensing the rights to all these different companies to like play the music and all that stuff. And during commercials and things like that. Like, I think the biggest one at the time was like Nike bought the rights to Revolution, and that, like, I know that Paul McCartney one time was pissed when they talked to him about that. He was like, dude, this is not. He's like, this is the opposite of what my song stands for, and he's like, it's not for the commercial gain and all that. So it's, I don't know, man.
Pretty interesting.
Went off on a way big tangent. It was just, but I just was curious about like Paul McCartney and the Beatles, if how big they were over there.
Wow,
that's all.
Why don't you come over to England one day and I will teach you all of the culture of my land. I'll take you to the local corner shop.
The local corner shop? What am I going to learn there?
Bobby, corner shops are a staple in the United Kingdom.
Really?
You go to a corner shop, you buy your cigarettes and your alcohol
and
like
your sweeties. Store here, yeah.
And then you go over to the chip shop for your lunch. You get fish and chips.
Oh man!
And then you go and sit on a seafront and you shiver and you eat your chips and you smoke your cigarettes and.
Oh Jesus! Oh my God! I have a feeling you've never done any of this in your life.
Not really. Yeah. I don't smoke. I don't drink very much either, but I do eat fish and chips.
Do you? That's just basically like fish and French fries per se, right?
French fries. They're chips, Bobby.
They're bigger French fries. They're like steak fries.
They're like chunky fat chips, but they're not like flat and wide. They're like just normal chips, Bobby. Anyway, you don't just get fish in a chip shop. You get all sorts of things. You can buy pies and saveloys and sausages.
Your pies are nasty though.
No, Bobby, come on.
Meat pies. Ugh.
What are you talking about, Bobby?
I had this conversation with your dad one time. I remember having this conversation with your dad. It's a little off-putting. It scares me a little bit. But
what's wrong with having chicken and gravy in a pie with some veg in it? Oh, lovely. Mwah.
I might. Well, if I came out there, I definitely would try it. But it scared me. Like, I think about like blood pudding or blood. Is that what it's called? Blood?
Oh yeah, like black pudding.
Yeah. That scares me. I don't want none of that nonsense.
You don't have to eat that, Bobby.
That just scares. But it makes me nervous going into other countries and not knowing what it is. Like, I think about like when they talk about when I listen to Brian Altano and them talking about when they went to Japan for the Tokyo Game Show, and like you buy donuts and there's fish in the donuts and stuff, and it's like, no, that's not what's supposed to be in a donut. It's supposed to be jelly or cream, not fish. Like, that scares me. Like, going to other countries.
We have good donuts over here, Bobby. Probably better than you've got over there.
Maybe. A lot of ours is just manufactured stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't have.
You don't have like local bakeries or anything?
We have a few. It's few and far between anymore. Everything. That's the problem with the United States, is everything's kind of became commercialized. Mm-hmm. So like Dunkin' Donuts, there was a time when Dunkin' Donuts, they used to actually legitimately make donuts at the Dunkin' Donut shop every morning. Now they're shipped in every day, and it's just not the same, you know.
Yeah, we have a local shop called Greg's. And they do like coffee and donuts and bread and stuff, and they make their own donuts every morning. Like, people go in really early to bake them and stuff. And I'm sure like a lot of it is still shipped in, like the sausage rolls and all that. But you know, they still bake a lot of it. But like, it's the real bakeries that you want to go to if you want like. Yeah,
when I go to a real bakery, oh my God, dude, the bread too is just like so amazing because it's all fresh and it's good stuff. Anyway, let's kick this episode
about video
off.
Games.
Let's kick this episode off. We do each and every episode with our geek outs. Toby, what are you geeking out about?
I am geeking out about
donuts.
Not donuts.
Bakeries?
I do really fancy a donut right now. Coffee and a donut after this, lovely. So I'm geeking out about Shovel Knight and Shantae coming to Blaster Master Zero as DLC.
Nice stuff, right?
That is so cool, having those crossovers. I love it when indies do this and they lend their characters to each other. And
so cool.
It's really cool because they take the character traits and they apply them to a game that's not necessarily in the same genre. Mm-hmm. So like Blaster Master's quite different to both. You know, it's still a platformer in a lot of ways, but there's still like there's top-down sections. So the characters are like they're using their abilities in different ways in this game. So
I love it, man. There was an episode of Nintendo Talk this week. I talked about it, and it was like when I heard it, I freaked out. I'm like, this is so cool, man. I love the fact that these indies are doing this. And that's one of the things I say in the video. Is just like, you know, it's amazing that like third parties, the only game, when you think about it, when you think about like big AAA companies or, you know, big first party devs and, you know, second, third party devs, the only ones that are really doing that is Nintendo with Smash.
Yeah.
Anything beyond Smash, nobody really does it. You don't hear about occasionally. Like, I think the biggest that I remember in recent history is maybe like Soul Calibur, when like Darth Vader was on one version, and Darth Vader and Yoda were in a version, and then like Link was in another version, or like in NBA Streets when Mario and Luigi showed up in it and stuff like. But it's rare. You don't get that all the time. With indies, it feels like it's all the time. And I was something else like that. Like, I listed like a few different companies that do it. Like Jules Washam, you know, in Mutant Mudds Super Deluxe, he has 20 different indie characters crammed into that game that you can get and play as in his game. And then like Image and Form do it. You know, they'll have like, Image and Form doesn't do it with characters, but they have little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Zoink Games, similar thing. Like, they do little Easter eggs.
I think what's cool is that indies do it with a real passion for the characters, and I think it'd be so cool if we could use your character in a unique way in this game. Where...
I don't know, did you ever play Runbow?
No, I didn't play that.
That game is, there's all, like, it's basically just quirky color characters, but you can then unlock indie characters as well, and there's a whole slew of all these different indie characters you can use in the game. It's really, really cool, really well done. But they're all in, like, Shovel Knight's in it, Rusty from SteamWorld, Max from Mutant Mudds, Shantae's in it. Like, they're all in that game. It is really, really cool, man. So it's interesting to see how they do this stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
Myself, I'm geeking out about Splatoon 2.
Splatoon!
The direct hit this week. I am, man, as we get closer and closer, I am so hyped for this. I just cannot wait. I'm going to go today. I'm going to try to pick up the Splatoon 2, or the Pro Controller.
Oh, yeah. That looks nice.
That looks nice. I really want that Pro Controller bad. So, I think that might become my collector feature out of this. Because
people are like, I've heard people saying, "Oh, I love all the different colored Joy-Cons. I want to get the red ones. I want to get the blue ones. I want to get the yellow ones." Like, but they don't interest me as much as these Pro controllers. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, if they continue this trend, where just you get, like, even if, like, when Mario comes out, like, if it's a red and blue on each side, and like maybe like Mario heads or something, or little M's or something built in, or stars or whatever, you know, on it, it would be really, like, that would be awesome for me. Like, that would be what I really want to see happen with Nintendo.
Cheaper than Joy-Cons as well.
Well, they're not really cheaper than Joy-Cons. It's the same price.
Are.
Well, like, what? They're like $20 cheaper, isn't it? Yeah. So to me, that's the way I want to go. That's what I want to see happen. So, whose turn is it this week? Yours or mine?
I don't know, Bobby.
All right.
I don't pay attention.
I'll let you go first then. What's your topic?
Is PlayStation VR dead?
Is PlayStation VR dead?
Yes. So Sony's not really shown a tremendous amount of support for VR, and it feels almost like it's going to end up like the Vita. You know, they put a few minutes in their press conferences here and there, but they don't really go all out, and they're not really encouraging a lot of third parties or their own studios to, you know, utilize VR. So, like, is it just a fad? Is it going to go away?
So I look at it like this. I don't feel like VR itself is a fad. I feel like VR is probably here to stay, but I feel like it's still about maybe 10 years away before it's more mainstream. There's some issues with it, but we'll get into that.
There's a lot.
We'll get into that in a second. Yeah. But I feel like Sony was working on VR, right? And I feel like they just got sucked into it because they were R&Ding it. And then Oculus comes out and Vive comes out and all these different ones come out, and all of a sudden they were just like, hey, we have it over here too. and we might be the cheapest solution to it, which essentially they are, because you don't need like a big, powerful computer to run it. But I think ultimately they kind of got sucked into the hype, and I don't think that they were truly ready to come out with it. And I feel like they rushed it to be like first to market. And to be like a complete setup, you know what I mean? Like, hey, here it is, you get your PlayStation 4, and here's the thing, and go. I feel like they probably should have just slowed down, taken maybe another 2 years before they launched it, to give the developers, because I feel like you can't launch a console, it's not really a console, you can't launch a peripheral with tech demos. I feel like something like this should have had 5 to 10 complete games that, you know, and you don't have to put them at launch, space them out like Nintendo is doing with Switch, but you should have went into the first year with a lot of stuff. Everybody I hear now, like, they got it, they loved it when they first got it, and it's sitting on the shelf now. Mm-hmm. Joseph Moran of Poly Games, I just watched a video that he did last week, and he talked about he just traded in his PS VR. So it's like, people are offloading them now because it's not. And this is where I feel like the issue is. I was talking to Miguel last week. We went out and I was talking to him about it, and I said the biggest issue is this. So Fallout 4, right, is coming out with VR, and I know Tony would love for me to buy it and so she could try it and stuff. But here's the issue. So if I'm playing the game, and in theory I have to stand up, which is no big deal. That makes sense, right? You're going to stand up because you want to experience the world or whatever around you. But if I'm sitting there and there's stuff behind me, right? And now I have to turn to go get after that stuff. Dude, there's a cable on the back of my head. Mm-hmm. So a game like Resident Evil, if I'm like in a panic, in a scare mode where something's coming after me, and I start like move, am I going to trip over the cable? Am I going to rip the PS4 off the shelf? Like, that's a serious question you have to ask. I feel like VR doesn't really become truly viable until it's wire-free. Until it's a situation where that's a wireless mount on your head, and then you can really pull and move around. When you don't have that tug on the back of your head because there's wires running, and you don't have to worry about the wire going down by your feet when you move and stuff and it messing you up. That's the biggest, to me, the biggest issue, and until they get to that point. So I feel like, like I said, I don't feel like it's a dead entity. I just feel like it was super rushed to market.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. There was no killer app for it at the start. There was no big game to sell the experience, and that's a bad thing, like you say, to just launch this new way of playing games with a bunch of these experimental little things that, they're kind of interesting and they're cool to experience, but they lose their sort of charm quickly. So, and for such a high investment to get into it in the first place, I just don't think there's enough of a payoff there.
That's
in
the
terms
thing.
of experience.
I look at Resident Evil and I go, man, that is an amazing experience. I'll never play it, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, because I hate to be scared as it is, and I feel like something like that would just scare the balls out of me. But like, you look at that and it's like, that's the perfect experience. Like, and I feel like horror, in a nutshell, it's the perfect experience for that thing. I just feel like where developers now, like Bethesda, is now working on it, and I don't even know that Bethesda would bring this to PS4. I don't think that it's hard for me to think that PlayStation 4 is a powerful enough unit to run what some of these games are doing. Or
the Pro might be.
What's that? Pro might be. Pro. Yeah, Pro might be. Absolutely.
You know what, Bobby? I was in a Costa the other day, coffee shop, and I was sitting there enjoying my coffee, and I was thinking about VR, and I come up with the killer app for VR, right? Oh boy, if somebody makes this game, VR's going to take off, right? So, so what this is you sitting there, it's not a stand-up game, you have to be sitting down to play it, and you have your Move controllers or whatever, and basically you are sitting at your girlfriend's parents' dinner table, and they've put on this nice big posh dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting opposite you, stone-faced, judging you, right? So, and this is the first time that you're having dinner at your girlfriend's parents' house, and you have to do everything prim and proper, right? So you have to pick up your cutlery and cut your food properly and put it in your mouth without getting it all over your face, or without dropping it in your lap. You have to pick up your teacup and sip your tea properly without spilling it. And all the time, your girlfriend's parents are judging you and staring at you the whole time, and that's how you get scored. And I think that would be the best use of PlayStation VR. What do you think?
Are you on crack?
Come on, Bobby. That's a brilliant idea.
Brilliant is stretching it very, very far. You are insane, man.
You don't have to stand up. There's no worry about tripping over things. It's all about the movement and interacting with the world in front of you.
It sounds like the most boring game in the world. Sitting there,
it'll be
in front of your girlfriend's parents, and they're judging you.
It will be like Octodad. Like, it'll be tricky to pick things up because you're smashing things over with your hands and stuff like that. It'll be hilarious, Bobby. Come on.
Stop it. You know what? God. For a minute there, I thought Toby's got a brilliant mind. He's going to come with something really strong.
It is.
And then you come with that.
Oh, my God.
What is wrong with you?
You've got no imagination.
You got no imagination. I don't want to sit there.
I just come up with an awesome VR game.
That's not awesome VR. You came up with a VR game. Awesome's a bit of a stretch of imagination. Listen, I want people to leave comments in the comment section. Was it awesome? Was this an awesome game? Is this a game that you would go spend $60, $70 on to play?
Not necessarily $60, $70.
I don't care what the price is. Would you pay $5 for how much? Okay, would you get the game? I want to know from the people. Would you get the game, and how much would you pay for the game?
All right.
If it was a free, it was on PlayStation. It was a PlayStation free game of the month. Maybe I'd get it.
Oh,
but I don't know about that.
That's so mean.
Okay, so my topic is Breath of the Wild DLC coming later. The Champion's Ballad will feature Link as the character you control. People seem to be very upset about this. I guess they thought that you would be able to control like the champions or Zelda. What's your feeling on it, Toby? Do you think that this is,
I think the main reason people are upset is because for a while now people have been going, wouldn't it be cool if you could play as Zelda? And when Breath of the Wild was first shown off, people were like, Link looks very androgynous. Is he a girl in this? And there was that whole, there was the Anuma quote about, he's not necessarily a boy or whatever he said, and that got everyone thinking that Link's a girl this time. Yeah. So, and I think people have still got that in their heads, like they want to play a Zelda game where you don't play as Link.
Yeah.
And this DLC was an opportunity to do something cool with that, and I think they've, since they haven't done that, it's upsetting people, as well as the fact that it's called the Champion's Ballad or whatever. It's like, it sounds like it's about something other than Link,
Well, where's your stance on it?
I think that I don't like the champions all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of them are irritating, especially like their voiceover and that. But I think I would have liked to have seen Zelda as a playable character, but I'm not that disappointed about it.
I feel like this is and obviously it's just my opinion. I could care less to play as anybody else. Like, I play a Zelda game to play as Link. Like, if I want to play a Zelda game with Zelda as the character, I want to play something else. Like, I've always said, like, I would like to have like a GEEK game, like a game with, because Zelda is GEEK. You know what I mean? Like, spoilers. And it's like, go do that. You know what I mean? Like, tell a different story. Have different play mechanics, all that stuff. Like, when I played Hyrule Warriors, GEEK was my favorite character in Hyrule Warriors. Because I was just like, she is badass. This is amazing, And that's what I would rather them do than take a Zelda game and make me play as Zelda or as any other character. Like even the champions. Like when people were talking about, I was like, I don't want to play as the champions. I want to play as Link. Like I want more story content, but I want to play as Link. Now, if they made me play as Zelda, would I have a problem with that? The only way that I would like to play as Zelda in this game, if it was pre-storyline, pre to everything, like 100 years ago, and you're playing as Zelda in that time, because that's what I thought it was going to be. You're playing as Zelda in that pre-timeline, like in between her sealing herself.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that'd be interesting because there's a narrative to be told. There's a story to be told in that situation where what happened. You know what I mean? And I get to see exactly what happens when she basically tells the two members of the Sheikah to take Link and take him to the resurrection chamber. At that point, like when you do all that and you go through, at that point it's like, okay, what happened from that timeline to here? Like, is it just an instantaneous, or does she have to do things to get there? Or, you know, that to me that would be more telling and better across the line. But as far as like playing as Daruk and Gavali, like I have no interest at all. You know what I mean? Like
I feel like Zelda, if you're gonna make any sort of Zelda game, whether it's DLC or whatever, like in Breath of the Wild, the Zelda that's portrayed, I don't think she would be too interesting a character to play in that world. But
you
listen
are
to me,
insane, right? Man.
Because they show her as she's a princess, right?
Yeah.
And she's going around and she's got someone to protect her, which is Link, and you don't see her wielding a sword.
You haven't beat the game yet.
And all of that stuff, right?
Stop. But you have not beat the game.
All I'm saying is I think it would do her more justice to do her own separate Zelda game.
Yeah, but
where she...
You don't... See, that's what I'm saying. Like, you haven't beat the game. So I can't say too much because I'm not trying to spoil it for you. But I have said this from the beginning. And because I watched all the storylines. I watched everything. If anything, this is a Zelda story. This all takes place this is all about her, and it's the coming of age of her. And
yeah, but does she have any other abilities other than casting magic spells?
You don't know.
Can she do melee attacks?
You don't know because you don't. That's what I'm saying. Like in that time period, what could happen? You don't know.
But even in the flashbacks, like she's not that person. She's not going out there in the wild like Link is.
Toby.
Alright, Bobby.
Beat the game. Alright?
All I'm saying is I would prefer Zelda to have her own standalone game.
There is 2 memories that you have not seen yet that I assure you it will change your opinion. Go beat the game.
Alright, so in one of these memories, does she slap Link out of the way, take a sword off him, and start defending herself? I hope so.
I think you'd be very surprised, pleasantly surprised. Okay? So, go beat the game.
Yeah. See, now I'm interested in beating the game. I'm not interested in beating Ganon because I don't see him throughout the game.
I'm telling you right now, there are two amazing memories that are going to come up that are going to like just change I think it'll completely change your aspect. Because I remember you in the beginning talking about, I can't stand her, she's whiny and this and that, and I was like, I see it as, but I'm telling you, that's the story. Here's this girl, she's a princess, she's whiny, and all of a sudden it's the build of she's starting to become the character. I'm telling you, man.
All right, man. All right.
Did you get the master? You got the master sword, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't use it because it's crap.
Yeah, it's not the best. I hate that the thing dies on you. It's so stupid.
I need to do the trial to power it up.
Yeah. I did the first one. So anyway, with that, so because we got off on a little tangent there a little bit, but with the DLC and all that stuff like that's coming. Let's say this. I feel like the first pack that we got and we talked about this last week, I think, where we said like this should have been built in the game, but we knew that it would have delayed the game. Like you look at now's when we would have originally gotten the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In theory, so and we both agreed that like that would have been bad for Nintendo to do. Like they needed that to be at launch. But the next pack is the one I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, if they delayed it for this particular DLC, that would not be worth it.
No.
Because people are like, take it or leave it, this DLC. Yeah. I reckon you're right, though. The second DLC will be much more significant.
Do you think we see a third and a fourth pack? Or do you think this is it?
I think that'll probably be it.
Would you like to see a third and a fourth pack?
If they add a proper dungeon, I might. Like, I don't know what the dungeon's going to be in the second pack, you know, but I assume it's going to be not very good.
Now, okay, so that's... Have you tried the trials at all, or no?
Not yet.
The Trials of the Sword?
Yeah, not yet.
I'm interested to see what you would think about that, because I think that's kind of more of a proper dungeon in terms of Zelda.
It's still got that shrine aesthetic, though, isn't it?
Not really. What do you mean the shrine aesthetic?
It looks like the inside of a shrine.
To some degree. But I think like the inside of a shrine is kind of like a dungeon as well.
It's just generic. Like, I want it to have its own personality and style about it that's different from anything else you've done in the game.
No,
you know?
I get that, but you're just nitpicking now. So.
I miss the old style of dungeons, basically.
You're messed up. All you do is nitpick. I would have liked a proper dungeon as well.
Yeah.
I love the shrines. Don't get me wrong. I really love the shrines.
Yeah,
I love
the shrines are some of the best bits.
But I think the best shrines are the ones that are a little longer, where you have to actually do something. There's one, and I don't know if you got to it. It's an arrow. It's basically arrows. So you're going through, you're like lighting arrows, and you're shooting like candles, and it like unlocks more and more and more as you go along. And I love that. Like,
yeah,
that was just one of my favorites because I just enjoy that stuff, like the figuring stuff out. But I like what I would like to have is a bigger shrine or dungeon based upon what the puzzle aspects of this. Like, I love that. That's the biggest thing that I love about this is the real world aspects of it. Like, so I was in the shrine, right? And it was basically I had to take the motion controls and take a cube and that had blowers coming out of it. And I had to spin it in a way that was hitting the 4 fans, right?
Mm.
And you had to motion control it to be perfectly. And what I realized was 2 of the fans were perfectly lined up, but the other 2 were low. But I noticed there was like triggers next to them. I'm like, okay. So I looked over and go, oh, there's a block. And I pick it up with metal and I put it on top of it and it raises the one platform. And I'm like, damn it. There's no other blocks in this room. And maybe there was, and I wasn't seeing it maybe. And I'm like, how do I get this other switch? So I jump on it, and when I jump on it, it lifts up, and then it unlocks the door. I'm like, oh, there you go. And I run away, and the minute I step off, boom, it lowers. And I'm like, damn it, there's got to be a way. I can't figure out how to lower it. All of a sudden, I go, my shields. And I start dropping my metal shields, and I pick them up and put them on it. And I put 2 of them on it, and it clicked, and it went down. I was like, yes! And I like...
Bobby, you're insane. You could have just stasised the Switch.
Down?
Yeah. When you step on a Switch, you can stasis it, and it will stay down until it runs out.
I never knew that. See?
But it's cool, though, that you did that with the shield. That's what I'm saying.
It's cool that you have different aspects to it. The same thing as like when you have the electric ones, you drop a metal sword down, and it'll connect the line. Like, that's what I love about this game. It's like... Because think about it. In the old way, you know what I mean, with a dungeon, there's only one way to beat that dungeon. Yeah. Now, there's something that you and I both said, and you're like, I come out with one perspective, and you come out with another perspective, and guess what? We both finished it and got through. It's kind of cool with that. Like, I love that, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, all right. So, it's time for some hot off the presses, some news, and all that stuff. So... Toby, I'll go first because you started with the thing.
Really?
With the 3 news things.
Really? Are you sure, Bob?
Yeah, I'm positive. So, the first one is Castlevania news.
Yeah.
The second one is an NES emulator. And the third one is Lauren Lanning of Abe's Odd World.
Let's go NES emulator.
Okay. So, apparently, there was an NES emulator found within the Nintendo Switch internal firmware. Modders have found an NES emulator embedded in the Nintendo Switch firmware with the codename Flog. According to the description found on the Switch Brew website, it's already installed on the Switch and just waiting to be activated to become fully functional. We've already known the capabilities of the Switch and its upcoming features, including classic game selection, which will be part of the Nintendo Switch online service arriving in 2018. The information only solidifies that hopefully we'll be getting more information in the coming months. So I pulled that from Nintendo Mobile News, Mobile News. I don't know. Are you excited to get into this finally?
Yeah, it shows. It's promising. It shows Virtual Console is on the way.
Yeah,
they're putting. It's not just vaporware. It's a little disappointing to me that they only mentioned a NES emulator and not any other sort of emulators. But I'm sure they will come in time. I'm not as into NES games as you are. So,
well, I think what's intriguing about this might be something that just never gets used. And the reason why I say that is because if you remember, originally the idea was they were going to do a couple of NES things a month. You know what I mean? Like you would get this, but they've changed since then. They've changed the direction of where it's going. So I find this interesting because I wonder, like, is this something that stays and they actually activate and go with? Or is it something that was like, oh, we were going, like that was, it shows that like this is the planning prior to the... prior to the launch of the Switch, and now they've kind of changed direction with where they're going.
It's interesting that hackers found it, or modders, or whatever you want to call them, and it makes me think that if they can unlock it, because at the moment I think they only know the name of it, but if they can get into it and figure out how it works, then I don't think it'll be too long before you can buy a cartridge that you can put in and just play every single NES game on your Switch.
Yeah, that's true. Because they might find a way to. Although
there'll be some weird way to hack your Switch to play NES games. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah, that'd be kind of cool. All right, when do you think we see the Virtual Console?
I think they'll talk about it after the SNES Mini comes out. So I reckon it'll be end of the year that they'll be talking about it.
I don't think we see it until 2018 easily. Which kind of blows me away. If you would have told me that like this thing's coming and it's not going to have any Virtual Console at all wrapped into it, I would have been like, "You're insane." That'll be the first thing they give you, and they didn't at all. I was blown away.
But I'm happy as long as I get my SNES Mini and I can play those games, and I've got all these cool indie games coming out every week or whatever. Like that will keep me going until next year.
It'll do too. I just pre-ordered it.
Yes, well done, Bobby.
Yeah, I pre-ordered the physical copy because Nicholas does all these cool things where they put like instruction booklets in it and all that.
Yeah,
I was like, I need this game. I love It'll Do. You know what I mean? Like the first one I played, it was broken. There was issues with it, but I loved the concept. I loved everything about it. And then you and I both bought. You led the charge to that. But It'll Do too. We got it on the PS4 and. I loved it. I didn't beat it. You beat it. You went hog wild with it, man.
Yeah. I was tweeting the developer pictures of puzzles. I was like, how do I get through this? But yeah, it was really, really, really good.
Are you going to buy it again?
I bought Oceanhorn again. So once I beat Oceanhorn, which I'm about 60-70% through, I'll probably get it.
I don't know. I can't believe you bought that game.
Oceanhorn is so good, Bobby. I love Oceanhorn.
Let's relax with the so good. It's okay at best.
It's good, Bobby.
The puzzles are horrible. Be fair. The puzzles are horrible.
It's got its own personality. Once you get into that game and you start getting into the groove of it,
maybe I need to buy it again and try it again and push through because
it's just a cool little fun indie game. It's very casual. Like it's not hard. Yeah. You just go around and you're solving these puzzles and opening treasure chests and exploring. It's just cool vibes. I like it.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot again. I don't know. We'll see.
Good bedtime game. That's when I play it before bed every night.
What's your news stories?
All right, so I've got The Last of Us 2 Pig. UK sales charts, Crash Bandicoot.
Wait, The Last of Us... What?
2 Pig.
Pig, okay.
Yeah, wink, pig.
Yeah, okay.
Crash Bandicoot sales, better than expected. And PlayStation YouTube hosts Xbox footage.
Okay, so the only 2 stories that kind of interest me here are The Last of Us and then the last one, the YouTube one. I don't care about the Crash one because I've already heard that story. I want to go with the PlayStation YouTube thing.
Yeah, that's the most interesting one, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
So PlayStation YouTube uploaded the footage of Anthem, basically the same E3 footage, and what they did is they sort of put like After Effects or they photoshopped in PlayStation buttons over the top of the Xbox buttons. So it is Xbox One X footage, but with these photoshopped PlayStation buttons put over the top.
Are you kidding me?
And people were suspicious because when the buttons like the HUD sort of fades in, you can see the buttons, but they've not done a good enough job of overlaying the PlayStation buttons, so you can still see the Xbox prompts underneath. So
it's kind of shady.
So it is shady, and nobody knows whose fault it is. Like they've since taken the video down from their YouTube channel, but it could have been like some lazy editor. It could have just been.
Yeah, but here's my thing: Anthem on the PlayStation 4 is not going to play or look like the Xbox One X at all.
Well, and the thing is as well, like even if they got away with overlaying the buttons, the actual gameplay footage, if you put it side by side, it's the same footage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be
like even if it just the way the characters are moving, the players are moving exactly the same.
Yeah,
I don't know why they did it. Like, who thought that was a good idea?
I don't know, man. Lately, the more, and it's a shame because I'm not trying to come off like I hate PlayStation because I don't. You know what I mean? I do own a PS4. I don't own an Xbox. I play my PS4. I play my Switch a lot more now. But prior to Switch, like I played my PS4 more than I played my Wii U. Man, this is just the more lately PlayStation talks and does things, the more they just rub me the wrong way. It's just like, man, what are you guys doing?
They're definitely having a bit of a PR issue lately, I think.
Yeah, man. It's like, but the thing is they'll continue to get a free pass like they always do. And it's like, what are you doing? Like if Nintendo or Xbox did this, especially
I think
Nintendo,
it's because
flip.
Because PlayStation's on top right now. I think they're getting a little bit cocky and they're saying no to cross-play and putting up footage that doesn't belong to them. Like they don't care. They're like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. We're PlayStation.
The whole PayPal thing. Have you heard anything else about that from last week?
No, not yet. I think
another thing. That's like
people have been getting their accounts returned to them, but
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's time for the rewind, and I'll let you go first this time. What PlayStation game did you play for this week?
I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I like to cheat, Bobby.
Always.
I just want to talk in general about the original Grand Theft Auto games.
Here we go.
Because to a lot of people, like a lot of the younger gamers out there, they grew up with the 3D Grand Theft Autos, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, 4, and 5. But
and I've always, for me personally, when you say Grand Theft Auto, I do liking it to PlayStation. Like all my Grand Theft Auto experience has been on a PlayStation.
I think it was exclusive to PlayStation consoles up until 4, I think.
Yeah.
But then, they had re-releases of old games on Xbox. But even still, for me, the roots of this series are in the PlayStation 1, and they were very different games. They still had the same sort of vibe to it, the same sort of... you were still a criminal in it. You were still stealing cars and shooting people and doing missions and stuff. But it was a totally different perspective. It was top down because obviously PlayStation 1 couldn't really handle a whole 3D city very well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was kind of interesting that the gameplay was top down because it really restricts what you can do in the environments and the views and stuff, but they still did a good job in making you feel like you had a whole city to explore. You were free to like run around and cause chaos. You know, you could go on rampages and just like get as many points as you can by just creating chaos, basically destroying cars and killing people. And you could like run people over. You'd get these football teams that would be running along the street like American football teams, and you could just mow them all down for like a points bonus. Like, it's crazy. Like, but still very like cartoony. But the thing I used to love to do in that game, I was a very sad little boy. I used to like to play cars. I used to play nice. I used to obey traffic laws, and I used to stop at traffic lights, make sure I wasn't running anyone over. Like, I was a good kid, man. And I had a lot of fun doing that. But also they had this really cool thing, like, you know, the movie Speed, where they had the bus and you can't go below a certain miles per hour. Well, they had a mission like that in the game where you were controlling a bus and you had to not crash into anything, otherwise your bus would blow up. Like, that was one of my favorite things in these games. But they the first one was a bunch of different cities. You know, you had San Andreas and everything. But then they did a sort of semi-expansion called Grand Theft Auto London, which was a standalone thing, but I think you needed the first game. But I think that's how it was. You needed some game, and that was obviously set in London in the 1960s. So that was really cool. Like, you had old cars and everything, and you go around London. You go around all the classic landmarks in London. And then they had Grand Theft Auto 2, which was quite a bit more advanced. You could do like jumping and stuff. And it caused a lot more chaos than that. It was a lot more violent. You had like cooler guns and everything. A lot more freedom of movement.
So 1 and 2 were the top-down games.
Yeah, and London was top down. Everything was top down.
3 was the first one that actually moved to.
Yeah, that's why it was
world.
such a big leap, and for gaming in general, because it was like, wow, you go from top down to a whole 3D world, and you can turn the camera around and you can explore the environment. Like, such a difference in gameplay from those games to the 3D ones. Like, incredible.
The funny thing was like, with me, 3 was good. I loved Vice City, and recently I went back to play Vice City, and man, it's hard on the eyes. So hard on the eye. And I remember that game to be totally different. It's like, and we talk about it before, like, that's the era that needs remasters. Like, and I wonder, like, we're looking at games now, and I wonder, like, 10 years from now, will, like, Uncharted 4, will that need to be remastered, or...
No.
You never know, man. You never know. I used to think the same thing about Mario 64. And
the thing is, technology, like, the leaps in technology now is slowing down. You know, like, you can't tell the difference as easily between a PS3 game and a PS4 game.
It's
like,
true.
The leaps aren't that great. Like, because before PS2 you had like fog and lots of pop-in, and textures weren't as good. But now, like, textures are so good, lighting's so good.
The only thing I think that would be different would be just draw distance, where you can actually see much further than you can today. But the draw distance on a PS4 is pretty damn long as it is.
Yeah.
Like, you look at Uncharted 4, and like, you look at some of them vistas and some of them scenery
and frame rate as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Okay, so my retro game is Megaman, the original Megaman. Dude, that game to me was so much fun, but so hard. When we were kids, we played it, and my cousin owned it, and I remember conning him and let me borrow it, and I took it home, and I was playing for a few days, and then his mom called my mom and yelled at me, and because I took the game that they just bought my nephew, and because he was already complaining that he wanted a new game. She's like, I just bought you a game. He's like, yeah, but Bobby took it, and so I got yelled at. I had to take it back, but I had put a lot of time into it when I had borrowed it. But we couldn't figure out how to beat characters. We didn't know about the mechanic of changing weapons.
Yeah.
And so we could get to Cutman and we could barely beat him. But when we finally beat Cutman, It was like, we didn't know, like, you take Cut Man and you go to Elect Man and you use it and it'll kill him real quick, you know what I mean? So I remember him calling me after he figured it out and he's like telling me, I'm like, oh my God. And then we started to put it together. It was like, okay, so what beats, you know, what does electric beat and what does this beat? And we just moved on through it. But I grabbed some facts today because I wanted to talk about that I thought were kind of interesting. So the original name for Mega Man wasn't going to be Mega Man. And I know a lot of people will go like, oh, well, it was supposed to be Rockman, because Rockman was what the Japanese version is. But no, it was actually, Capcom was looking at Battle Kid, Mighty Kid, and Knuckle Kid. They were all being considered as names for them. And then the reason why Mega Man is blue is because the limited palette of colors on the NES, blue was the only one that had like multiple colors, that they felt like they could do more detail with the character in blue than the other colors. Like red just had like one or two reds or whatever, but blue had multiple ones. So they were like, we can actually put more detail into the blue character, so we're going to make him blue, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then the last thing I thought was kind of cool was, so the two main doctors in it are Dr. Light and Dr. Wily. Dr. Light is the good doctor, and Dr. Wily is the bad doctor. Their real names is Dr. Thomas Light and Dr. Albert Wily, and they're based upon Thomas Edison and Albert Einstein. But the cool thing that they point out is Thomas Edison was kind of known for being like reckless and like a bad person overall. Like a lot of things that he created were like sadistic. Like he created the electric chair and all these crazy things. And Einstein he was like peaceful and not into war, right? Mm-hmm. But it's funny because in Japanese culture, when you look at it, who's the villain? Who's the guy that you don't like? The guy that created the atomic bomb that got dropped on Japan. And it's like, it's kind of neat when you look at that, when we look at Albert Einstein as this, at least I know in the United States we do, it was like this intelligent man, and he's a great man, and it's like, he created something that was destructive, and massively destructive. So it's kind of cool to see like the different, look at it through different glasses to see what's what, and like how in the United States and in most of the world look at Einstein as like this amazing figure, but in Japanese culture, like, yeah, man, he created something that like destroyed them,
I've never looked at it that way before.
Yeah, I didn't either until I read this, and I was like, oh, this is super interesting. It was like kind of cool.
Man, I'm looking forward to playing Mega Man X on the SNES Mini, because I've never played a Mega Man game before. I know that you're gonna spit your coffee out at that, but
no, I know you haven't.
But yeah, like I want to play it like without the knowledge of what order you're supposed to beat these guys in. Like, I think I know the first two just from watching Let's Plays and stuff, but from there I just want to experiment.
The thing is X is a really good game, but X is so totally different from the original Mega Man series.
Yeah.
Like he slides, he does wall jumps. That stuff's not in the original Mega Man series. So there's the Mega Man series and then there's the X series. Mm-hmm. And the X series hit the Super Nintendo. That's when that started, because I think they were trying to do something totally different than what they had with on the regular Nintendo. There was one Mega Man 7 was actually made for the Super Nintendo, and that was more classic Mega Man, just better graphics. But ultimately, X is a really good game. Don't get me, I think X is phenomenal. I think the best Mega Man is 2 and then 3. And then you can kind of like throw them throughout, whatever. But 2 is definitely the best. Like, but the difference between 2 and 1 are night and day, like crazy night and day. So I don't know, but I'm interested to see what you think. Like, because you never even really played Shovel Knight that much, right?
I played it a bit. I got it on PlayStation 4.
When you play Mega Man, like if you were to actually go back and play a lot of the series, I think you would go back and have a new appreciation for Shovel Knight. And I think for me, where I had the appreciation was when I'm playing Shovel Knight, and especially later in the game as I'm getting ready to go beat the game and I'm building up and stuff, I'm like, it just pulls you right back to that Mega Man time. It's just like, oh my god, this is amazing. So, that is all. Thank you guys for listening to us on iTunes, dayspace.com, Google Play, wherever you can get your podcasts. Check us out. We're also on YouTube. Check out our Patreon as well. Make us better. It's a lot of good stuff. We're getting very close to knocking down our first goal, our first stretch goal, which has Toby frantically working on some stuff and trying to prep and get ready to go. And I've been doing stuff. And I know Sean, this week he started like, oh my God, I got to start getting stuff together because that first goal is getting ready to go. Which is going to be kind of interesting. It's going to be kind of fun. So,
it's exciting.
Yeah. You can follow us. You can follow the show at Ninplay Podcast on Twitter. You can follow Toby at Toby's_take. You can follow me at Nintendo Gurus. Do you want to plug your stupid Instagram?
You can find me on Instagram at amiibo_workshop.
I just didn't want to not leave it in because I know you get all offended and stuff. And before we go, when's your secret project getting announced?
It has had a slight delay to it, so
from
probably
who? From you?
From me, because I'm not good at deadlines. I'm a bad boy, Bobby.
Step it up. You got 2 things to do this week. I know. Finish your secret project and finish Zelda.
I'm not finishing Zelda, Bobby. I will eventually, not this week, though.
That is all. Peace out, Cub Scout.
See me later.
I was going to say that, but I figured you would freak out if I did that.